The storm has just begun. Last year, I started hearing whispers about a big change in money around the world, a shift in global money trends. It got me excited, but also a little nervous. I was thinking about my own plans to grow my wealth, how to be smart, buy cheap, and win big. But then I realized something important. Making money isn't just about my own moves. I need to watch what's happening out there in the world too. Have you ever thought about how the big stuff, like what America does, affects your money? For me, it's clearer now than ever. I have to understand global money trends in 2025. What happens in the US, like Donald Trump's choices or the Federal Reserve's decisions, can shake up everything, not just for me, but for anyone trying to build a better life. So let me tell you how this all started. Late last year, the US Federal Reserve, or the Fed, as people call it, dropped a hint they might lower interest rates. That's a big deal. It got people like me hopeful and a bit greedy. We remembered times like 2008 and 2020 when rates went super low. Low rates mean it's cheaper to borrow money, so things like stocks, houses, and US bonds start looking really good, perfect for investing in 2025. The plan was easy: jump in fast, buy cheap, and ride the wave up as prices climb. But then, early this year, the Fed surprised us all. They said, no cuts right now. Maybe we'll even raise rates. They blamed inflation. It's still too high. Rates dropped a little, from 5% to about 4%, but then stopped. Not the big drop I expected. Borrowing stayed expensive. My hope turned to worry, and the markets got shaky. I thought I saw a chance, but now it feels risky. If inflation keeps going and rates go up more, could everything crash? Worse than ever. What do you think? Is this a moment to take a chance or a sign to wait and watch? Drop your thoughts below.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to Mindful Money Mastery, where we share honest wisdom like tea around a lantern-lit table to understand money and grow wealth step by step. No confusion, just clear ideas for your dreams. Join us on this journey.
Chapter 1: Federal Reserve Power and Global Money Drain. For a long time, the Fed has been like a boss of money around the world, a real power in the global economy 2025. When they raise rates, cash flows into the US because people want bigger profits. The US dollar gets stronger. Some call it US dollar strength. And other money, like Japan's yen, the UK's pound, or Europe's euro, gets weaker. Those countries try to raise their own rates to stop losing cash, but it's tough. Especially for places already hurt by pandemics or wars, high rates make it hard to borrow, slow businesses, and make things worse. Look at Japan. In 2023, their yen hit its weakest point ever, a Japan yen crisis, because their rates stayed near zero while the Fed's jumped to 5%. In the UK, people stopped buying their bonds. Germany, a big player in Europe, saw its economy shrink in 2023 as the world slowed down. But the US? It was doing great. Its stock market went up as money poured in from everywhere. Some people say the Fed is taking the world's cash to make America richer in this global financial war. What do you think? Is that true or just how money works? Tell me in the comments. Does the Fed help or hurt your country? Last year, when the Fed hinted at cutting rates, weaker countries moved fast. They lowered their own rates to help their economies breathe, hoping the Fed would do the same. Then the Fed changed its mind. That left those countries in trouble. Their rates too low, their economies too weak to raise them back. The difference got bigger. US rates at 4%, Japan's at 0.1%, others at 2% or less. Cash flowed back to America. Gold prices shot up as people tried to protect their money, and stuff like stocks and houses in other places got cheaper. The taking didn't stop. It got worse. History shows the Fed cares more about the US than others. But let's not point fingers yet. Let's just see how it works. Chapter 2: Why Inflation Won't Stop in 2025. The Fed says they can't cut rates because inflation is still high. They think the US economy is too strong. But is it really? Big companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Meta cut thousands of jobs since 2022. That doesn't sound like everything's booming. In cities, more people are stealing small things from stores, and some places even made it okay because life's so hard. If everyone's spending like crazy, why are businesses cutting back? What's your guess? Why does inflation keep sticking around in 2025? One idea is it's tied to Trump tariffs in 2025. People heard he might put a 25% tax on stuff coming into the US, like avocados from Mexico, which we use a lot. So they bought more before prices went up, and that pushed inflation higher. But that's not the whole story. Check this out. In 2020, the Fed added tons of money, going from 4.1 trillion to 9.1 trillion during COVID money printing to stop a collapse. By 2022, they cut it back to $7 trillion, but that's still $3 trillion more than before. That extra cash is still out there. Where did it go? The Fed gave it to banks with almost no cost, and banks gave it to big companies. The idea was companies would make more stuff, balance out the money, and keep prices steady. But that didn't happen. Bosses at those companies used the cash to buy back their own stocks, not to build new factories. In 2020, the stock market crash dropped 30% in a month, then climbed higher than ever. Not because the economy was great, but because of all that cheap money. Rich people with stocks got richer, but inflation ate away at regular savings. The Fed started raising rates in 2022 to pull that money back. But cash from around the world keeps coming to the US, keeping stocks up. Inflation isn't fading because there's more money than stuff, and people are losing trust in the system. What's your take? How's inflation hitting you? Chapter 3. Who controls the Fed? The money game. The Fed isn't just a fair judge, it's part of the game. It started back in 1913 after a secret meeting on Jekyll Island made by big money names like the Morgans to keep banks safe and protect their own power. It doesn't answer to the government much, not even to presidents like Trump when he asks for lower rates to fix America's $700 billion money problem. It listens to someone else. Who do you think the Fed really works for in this financial war? Here's something new. The bond market is acting weird. Short-term US bonds like 3-month ones pay 4 to 5%, more than 10-year ones at 3 to 4%. Why? Big investors, like Warren Buffett, who's saving cash and buying short bonds, lend to the US for a little while and want good returns. When those bonds end, they'll decide again. If rates drop too low, they might stop lending, and the US CEO won't have enough cash. America spends way more than it makes, so it keeps borrowing to pay old debts and pays higher rates each time. It's like the rich are now taking from the government in this money game. If the Fed cuts rates a lot, this breaks. Cheap money floods out, bond profits crash, and the rich lose out. But if rates stay high, other countries' money gets weaker and more cash flows to the US. Either way, the Fed or the people behind it comes out on top. This matches what we know. The Fed's free to act, and the numbers check out. The taking idea is just one way to see it, but it fits the cash flow. Tell me below, who's winning this game in your eyes? Chapter 4. China stocks rise 2024 and new money spots. While the US markets go up and down, something quieter is happening, and it's bigger than I first thought. In 2024, China stocks rose after 4 years of falling, even with trade fights and Trump's tax threats. Why? Their money, the yuan, got weaker, so their stuff, like stocks and companies, looks cheaper in dollars. Big US investors who don't always talk about it see a chance to buy low. Apple's teaming up with Alibaba on AI projects. AI investing is hot. Trade between the US and China is picking up, and China's AI star, DeepSeek, is getting buzz from names like Zuckerberg. Are you surprised China stocks in 2024 are popping up now, or did you see it coming? But it's not just China. Other places are shifting too. India's been pushing hard to grow its tech and factories, an India tech boom. And their stock market's been climbing in 2024 as people look for new spots to put money. Even smaller countries, like Vietnam, are getting attention because they're making stuff cheaper than ever. Meanwhile, Canada's talking about adding more money to their system, which often means the Fed might cut rates soon. If that happens, here's what could go down. Bank savings rates might drop to zero. Your savings won't grow. But bond profits could stay high, pushing cash into bonds. The rich keep making money. Regular people like us see our savings shrink. Canada's moves often hint at what the Fed will do a few months later, but it's not a sure thing. What's wild is how fast this is moving. Just a year ago, everyone was focused on the US and Europe, but now eyes are turning east. China's not waiting. They're building AI, shipping more goods, and betting on a weaker yuan to pull in cash. If the US keeps rates high or raises them more, that could make China's stuff even cheaper, and the gap between the big players grows. It's like a quiet race. Everyone's trying to grab a piece before the next big shake. Where would you put your money if you had to pick today? China, India, or somewhere else? Drop a comment. Chapter 5: How to Win the Financial War in 2025. So, is this bad news or a chance? I keep asking myself that, and here's what I've landed on. The Fed's back and forth isn't random. It's a big game between rich people and governments, and we're all part of this global financial war. Gold's going up because people don't trust regular money anymore. Prices for stuff, like houses or stocks, might crash if rates spike, or they could grow if rates drop. Either way, staying calm, not freaking out, helps us figure out what to do. What are you doing to protect your money in 2025? Spread your money out so you're not stuck if one thing fails. Key financial freedom strategies. Gold's a solid pick. It's been climbing as people lose faith in cash. Land's another option. Nobody can take it away if you own it. And skills? Those are gold too. Learn something useful, like fixing things or growing food, that keeps you strong no matter what. Keep an eye on Canada. They might show us what the Fed's planning next. Chaos brings deals, and I'm seeing some now. Great investing tips for 2025. China's markets might be a hidden win. Big US players are quietly buying in, and their stocks are still cheap compared to here. India's another spot. Tech's booming there, and it's growing fast. But be careful. Things can flip quick, and you don't want to lose big. Look at what the smart money's doing. People like Buffett or the big banks, and think about following their lead, but with your own twist. The Fed keeps saying it's all about inflation, but I think there's more they're not telling us. Don't just trust the news. Watch where the cash is going. Are people buying gold, stocks, bonds? That tells you more than the headlines. Move smart, not fast. Rushing can burn you. I've been tracking this stuff myself, and it's like a puzzle. Every piece matters. This war isn't done. It's shifting, and we've got to shift with it. An old saying from the East goes, "The river flows, go with it." Don't fight the water, learn it, follow it, and make your own way. Maybe you've got a trick up your sleeve too. Something you've tried that's working? If this clicks for you, if you want to control your money, not let it control you, subscribe to Mindful Money Mastery, the global financial war explained, chaos, opportunity, and how to win. I'm so grateful you took the time to watch this, and I mean that. Honestly, all I want is to bring you something useful, something that helps you through this storm. If you like this, hit that like button. It helps me know I'm on the right track. Follow along too, because we're not done yet. Next time, we'll dig deeper. Why can't inflation stop? And what's the Fed really up to? What do you want to talk about next? Tell me, and let's keep going together. I'm here for this journey to financial freedom, step by step, with you, calmly, wisely, towards something better. Let's make it happen.